Who do you think you are? This is a question we might hear someone ask us when they feel we have overstepped, when their perception of our authority does not rise to the height we might imagine. This idea of who we are plays a pivotal role in how others perceive us, in how we perceive ourselves, in how we conduct ourselves, in who we love, who we hate, what we achieve, the degree to which our dreams, hopes, and aspirations ascend, what we tolerate in life, what we expect out of life, who we marry or partner with, how we allow others to treat us, what we accomplish, where we traverse, where we dare not traverse, where we live, who we greet, how we greet, who we shun, why we shun. All of these aspects of our experience, and many more, are direct functions of who we think we are. The ancients would say that every relational and aspirational problem you will ever suffer in your life is directly related to who you think you are, to your self-imposed identity, of the illusion of identity which you create, serving to facilitate your functioning, survival, and thriving within a world which you also create. They would say that your perceived identity, your persona, this facade which you maintain, albeit convincingly, is a delusion of your own making, allowing you to function within a man-made paradigm which others before you constructed, also based on their own self-fulfilling delusions. Thus, after thousands upon thousands of years of modern man and his contrivances, the exponential rate of fantastical expansion continues to manifest and support this ever-increasing fallacy. This branching of realities, hidden deep within our human psyches, is a parallel to the idea of many worlds. Though often thought of in the context of multi-dimensions or universes, it is undeniable when applied to the fantasy worlds which occupy our minds. Speak to anyone for very long, even those you consider to be kindred spirits, and you will find evidences that their universe is not yours, that their concept of reality is slightly eschewed from your own, that they are experiencing a different paradigm from the one you perceive. To crack this egg, let's discuss how you came to the identity you hold, a portion of which was your legacy from pre-existing delusions, and a portion of which you tacked on to allow you to forge somewhat of a unique path, a path which gives you some sense of independence and proprietorship of your life. To begin, you were birthed into a family, a clan, a tribe if you will. This brood held some well-established notion of who and what they were, handed them by their own progenitors, with a keen sense of how they related to the others in their sphere and how they fit into the world around them. They had an idea of their place and role in society, what their opinions of it were, and what their limitations and capacities were long before you arrived, and they couldn't wait to pass this heritage on to you. Accordingly, there you were, just born, with no ideas in your nascent little mind, lacking impressions, opinions, likes or dislikes, no notions of what you were or what you were to become. For all intents and purposes, you were a blank slate. Then you were named. The process of naming a person, place, or thing was established in prehistory as a sign of ownership. When one named a thing, it was theirs. It belonged to them. It was their claim on that thing. To wit, now you have been deemed property of the clan, theirs to mold and shape and indoctrinate. Your name identified you with the clan. You grew to learn that there was an us, and there was most certainly a them, and the us were the good guys, or at least the guys to be trusted, who you were to pledge your loyalty to, who your unfailing fealty would forever be tethered, and the them were the bad guys. Your name told everyone in your community your status, your birthright, your potential, and how they were to treat you. And you bought into it. Then along the way you were informed that your extended loyalty was to a particular genetic heritage, tone of skin, texture of hair, peculiarity of features. That these were your people, and that you owed them your allegiance. That they were better people than those outside of your kind. And you bought into it. You were taught a certain philosophy of life, a means of perceiving the world, a creation story, a God story, a salvation story, the rules of righteousness, the consequences for misdeeds, and the clearly defined line between saints and sinners, that there were those who were infidels and who would pay for their transgressions, that anyone who did not believe in like terms would suffer a gruesome and eternal fate of damnation, pain, and anguish. And you bought into it. You were told your worth, the limits of your abilities, that you were restricted by society, by lack of talent, by dimness of wit, that you could achieve, but only to the degree which those in your clan had set as precedents, that you were bound by the conventions of your bloodline. And you bought into it. You were convinced that you are separate from and superior to the natural world around you, that you should cover your feet, cover your head, protect your skin and hands and face from the ravages of nature, that you should build walls and floors and roofs and doors, that you should breathe conditioned and recirculated air, that you should drink filtered and chemically treated water, that you should eat ultra-processed foods which have been stripped of their nutrients. And you bought into it. You were taught that you needed to be held captive in cubicles of order and decorum, of informational overload and superficial platitudes, that you should be educated in brick buildings with cement floors and breathe chalk dust and ink fumes daily, and sit and sit and sit, and that you should listen and memorize and regurgitate and get an A, that you should be a cog in the wheel of society, that you should be productive but not creative, that you should be compliant but not confrontational, that you should be submissive and not subversive. And once again, you bought into it. You were sold on the idea that you needed to have a phone, buy a car, buy a house, and then a bigger one, and then a bigger one, that you needed to establish credit and build a portfolio, that your sustenance was to be supplied by the government and the establishment, and that it would all pay off in the end if you just kept feeding into the system, that the accumulations you acquired, and the debt you maintained, and the growth of your finances and properties and possessions would mean something in the end, that you needed things to find satisfaction, self-worth, and a sense of peace and security. And you bought into that too. These things, delusions built upon lies stacked upon misconceptions, are what separate you from true peace, from knowing your Creator, from realizing your value, your worth, your role in the cosmic order. They serve only to give you a false and shallow sense of belonging, a belonging which has no bearing on your true purpose, your true nature, or your true path. The moment you become aware of who and what you truly are, of your true purpose and how to accomplish it, and begin to follow your true path, the fantasy world you have created for yourself begins to dissolve and unravel, to become meaningless and unsatisfying. The people who once held you close to their bosom and claimed you as their own, who branded you and constrained you, who placed their expectations on you, become strangers and distant. They sever their allegiances with you. They think you must be confused or impressionable or mad, that you have lost yourself, because the paradigm you have discovered is foreign to theirs. The veil you have lifted from your eyes no longer shrouds your vision of truth, the truth of simplicity, innocence, sincerity, intentionality, compassion and mindfulness, the wisdom of nature and the oneness you share with all of creation, your willful participation in the great dance, the cycle that brings all things into and out of existence, into and out of the mortal experience, into and out of the flowering and wilting of life, the breathing in and out of the cosmos, its imperceivably languid pulse, pulling all life force in and pushing it all back out in an irresistible tide of willful, intelligent consciousness, wherein every point in the cosmos holds the potential of infinite energy and incalculable power. You think you are your name, but the sounding of your name only carries power that you brought to it. It has influence on those in your sphere, those who have come to know you through experience. It creates an image in their mind of the concept of you. It represents the reality you project, the reality you manifest. But your name is not you. It often hinders you as much as it propels and sustains you. It tells you what is expected of you, and that is a curse, because it puts you in chains of limitation, or station, or purpose. The better question is, what does the universe expect of you? What does the essence at your core, the God force at the center of your being expect of you? What does your infinite potential expect of you? You define your name. Your name does not define you. You think you are your tribe, but the influence of your tribe is directly affected by your thoughts, words, and deeds. You reflect your tribe as your tribe reflects you. Many of us allow our tribe to define us, to characterize and encapsulate our meaning and purpose. And while there is security in clanning, while it can serve as a hedge against adversity and conflict, hatred and persecution, it also restricts one's ability to expand one's identity to the level of humanity, the planet, and the cosmos. Tribalism is to the root chakra, to our primal urges and local existence, as oneness is to the crown chakra, our sense of spirituality and universality. You think you are your genetic heritage, but the soul which is within you, your spirit, that which is consubstantial with the one law, the source, the All-Father, God, that which is your true self and the purpose of your existence, knows no genetic limitations. The life force, which radiates to and through you, and which manifests in billions of forms, is the collective of universal consciousness, the will of God. It is in you, and you are in it. All things, both material and immaterial, are but fluctuations in the field of consciousness. This singular fundamental field, what the ancients referred to variably as the one law, within which all things have their existence and by which all things are sustained, is singular, so that the energy, information, light, and power that constitutes you has flown to you from pre-existing sources, and continues through you to all creation, and back again. It is a continuous ebb and flow of energy, of information, of power to and through all things. For a time, it occupies what you experience as this incarnation of you, but it does not belong to you. You are only borrowing it for a moment. In time, it must return to the source from which it came, to be recycled into countless other forms. Identities are like possessions. Having them isn't the problem. Utilizing them isn't the problem. Seeing them for their value isn't the problem. Enjoying them isn't the problem. But the moment they dictate to you, that they define you, that they own you, this is when they become the problem. When they give you a sense of separateness or status or superiority or false sense of self, a fabricated and propped up concept of contempt and hubris, then they become the problem. They become the enemy. They become your existential downfall. If you live neck deep in this paradigm, that of a comfortable compatibility with the status quo of culture, you may never sense the brokenness of the system and its inability to minister to your spirit, your soul, your higher self. You may very well continue on for months and years and decades, wallowing in dark misery, your spirit aching for freedom and to bathe in the light of the cosmic radiance which alignment with the forces of nature and the cosmos allows. If you are born into platonic darkness, in the cave of shadows, you may never yearn for enlightenment, because it is beyond the capacity of your experience. But this is only because the flicker of enlightenment, the flame of peace, has not yet presented itself to you. It has not cast itself across your path. Perhaps. More likely, though, is not that enlightenment hasn't flickered across your path, but that you weren't looking for it, and thus did not recognize it when it happened upon you. You have only to open your eyes, and you will see. The light in you is the light in me. This is our Platonic cave, mankind's existential paradox of identity crisis.